So in this video, I'm going to break down to you the ultimate growth design playbook for B2B and B2C SaaS founders to really help them grow their businesses. I'm going to really talk you through how you can turn your SaaS into a habit-forming conversion growth engine. And we're going to go through some simple principles that will be able to help you know exactly what to do when it comes on to growing your SaaS business and how you should look at doing this simply from a design perspective and having that mindset on. So I'm going to show you specifically how one client went from 40% activation from conversion to 75% in just 90 days after fixing onboarding and adding growth design principles using habit forming triggers. And this specifically is outlined in my portfolio. So if any of you are interested in checking out my portfolio, go to the description box below and you'll get a link and you can go through and see some of the projects that I've worked on. You see, one of the key things I want to share with you is that growth design really is the secret to SaaS growth, and it's not always what you think. So let's go into that and I'm gonna break it down. You see, the key thing I want you to understand is that SaaS doesn't always fail because of bad features. It doesn't fail because users don't see the value fast enough. It fails because users don't really see the value fast enough. And the other thing is that growth design really helps to bridge the gap between values and habits. And I'm gonna show you what this means. So I basically began to do some research and found that retaining an existing customer is generally considered to be around 5 times cheaper than acquiring a new one. And this is true for B2B, business to business, and B2C, business to customer, or consumer, I should say. So you find that the retention piece is really important, but without activation or acquisition, it's not going to work for you as well. So you've got to acquire customers, you've got to activate those customers, get them over the line to sign up for your product. And once they're in your product, how are you retaining them to make sure that they actually see value and stick? So I'm going to look at some examples of companies like Slack, Asana, Dropbox, Netflix, and others. And I'm going to talk to you through that today. You see, if you're struggling with retention, then these are some key things you want to pay attention to. 80% of users abandon a product within the first week if they don't see value, and that's according to Mixpanel. And 50% of SaaS companies with a strong onboarding process increase retention by 50%. So it shows us that increase in retention really comes down to two things. One, focusing mainly on like why are they leaving the product, that retention piece, and then also the onboarding as well. So what happens when you implement the growth design into your business? So you can convert more signups into active users, you can reduce churn and increase lifetime value, and you can scale sustainably without spending more on acquisition. This is exemplified in Slack, where they grew to 10 million daily active users in 5 years, and not just because of the best AI, but because of how easily people found their product sticky, because I use Slack literally every single day. And imagine the amount of businesses that end up using Slack, where initially it could have been just a replacement to email at first, but then it becomes the priority over email. Let me Slack someone internally as well. And you can now bring people in externally into your Slack community or your Slack team. So it's super valuable for you. So the way I want you to understand what I'm breaking down to you today really comes down to these two things: the acquisition, the acquiring of customers, and then how through the onboarding process they're activated into the product, and then how quickly do they receive the value from actually using your product. And that bridge really is this first onboarding process, which is like landing page, high converting landing page. We make sure we've got that. We acquire the customer in. Now they're going through the onboarding process. How do we make sure that onboarding process is really entertaining, educating, edutaining, right? If that's a word, where we're really combining the two to really heighten the value that they're about to receive as they use our product and service, right? So this is the power of growth design. It's the bridge between the acquisition piece and the retention, where habit forming takes place. Growth design really runs the experiments that you can test to be able to see what can we do to acquire customers faster, high converting landing pages, good ads on the front end, etc. Making sure that then into our onboarding, then into our product, and how do we improve our product to make sure people can use it ideally every day. If not something like TikTok, that's become habit forming in the highest. I should actually add some examples in here where TikTok was banned in America for 12 hours and people were crying on the internet talking about how I don't really know what to do. Obviously people make money on the platform, I get it, but some people weren't even making money. They were crying because they lost out on community. Something like that is where we call true habit forming product. They're using it every single hour of the day even. So I'm gonna break down this simple model for you, because the number one thing I'm seeing is that low conversions and retention is one of the biggest challenges we want to move away from, because churn is high and anxiety as a founder or a business B2B marketer, even the design team, can be anxious because we're not really sure or not clear on what really to do to improve the conversion rate. The second problem or challenge we're having is like inside of the actual experience of people using the product, there's no real clear aha moments. Like the time to value is really low and the product itself is not sticky, so people leave really quickly, and that is to my first point around churn. The third wing is around how do we now scale without predictability, lacking clarity and confidence and knowing what to do. This is where the strategy itself is actually hurting what we're doing at the acquisition phase, at the activation phase, and then on into the retention piece, because without clear strategy, we won't know what to do. So we want to make sure that we're attracting qualified users into our product. We're making sure that on the front end, we have the actual funnel built in a way so that we know at each stage of the funnel what the data is telling us and where we need to make improvements. We also want to make sure that in our messaging, in our copy, in our graphics and visuals, that all of that is aligned to our ICP, our ideal customer profile, so that when we are marketing what we are talking about in regards to our product, we know that we're speaking to the right people, and we also know what platforms, email, LinkedIn, YouTube, etc., what are the right platforms where our ICP is hanging out the most, right? We also want to make sure we create user loyalty. So how do we make sure that what the product that we're building really is something that they want to use as quickly and as frequently as possible? For example, myself, after I do my morning routine, I drop my kids to school, I come home and I'm starting to get to work. The first thing I'm doing is opening Slack, checking my emails, then I'm writing down my projects, priorities, and people I need to reach out to for the day. That's the 3 Ps. And really, that's because my user loyalty is to Slack, because it's the most essential tool, one of the most essential tools. My other tool that I'm using on a daily basis is Notion. Literally, sometimes I'm even using Notion. I literally opening Notion about 4 to 5 times a day at least. You know, I'm always in that platform. So these are the key things. The next thing, you want to grow sustainably, profitably. So this is now where you want to have the right strategy. I'm going to break it down for you and how that can really help you in these 3 key buckets to know where we can attract users successfully, qualified users that are the right ones for us, create user loyalty so they stick, and we want to grow sustainably and we have clear confidence and clarity to know what to do. So the key 5 activities in the attract qualified user stage is really where we want to make sure we have a high converting landing pages, or we should say lead magnets. So these lead magnets really are the things that really attract the people to us. Could be free trials, etc., demos, product demos, free trials. All of these things are great ways to have lead magnets to bring people in. Simplify our navigation, remove any friction, test it to make sure it's working, remove friction, and have some clear micro interactions, especially along the onboarding process, to just heighten the delight, the experience as people come through. And this now moves us to the next phase where we want to make sure we're creating triggers. We're tracking the progress of what we're doing. We're making sure that we have we're rewarding loyalty inside of the program and building community around our product as well. We want to make sure we have personalized user experience and then build some habit loops into the program, into our platform, to make people continuously come back and give them strong reasons to come back to our platform and use it as well. And when we want to grow sustainably, profitably, this is about prioritizing retention. And really this piece is about looking at the revenue. Are we basically able to test the revenue and pricing of what we're doing? Is the pricing working? Is our pricing, I'll give you an example on the pricing piece. Is a platform like Webflow. I use Webflow almost every couple of days. I'm in the platform every day, sometimes depending on what project I'm working on. But they've always changing their pricing, and sometimes their pricing can be really complicated and can be quite expensive. But the platform itself is really powerful. And that kind of tension between the utility of a platform and the pricing feeling really complicated and convoluted at times, that tension can be something that can make people say, I'm going to use a platform that might not be as good, but at least the pricing is not so high or makes more sense because there's not these additional costs that come as well. You want to optimize the funnels. We want to make sure we're tracking metrics and building referral system into that. And all this comes together to create what I call the growth design scaling system. And this kind of system really is key to know exactly what to do. This system is something where growth experience is on one side, where we're trying to improve the user experience specifically with growth in mind. We want to have growth psychology, where we're looking at the behavior of our customers. We're using user testing, seeing what they're actually doing, using tools like Hotjar or Microsoft Clarity, etc., to have recordings or amplitude, or have recordings full story. It's another one. Recordings of what people are doing inside of our platform, so we can see where we need to make changes and where people are getting stuck. The other keys is around growth strategy. So making sure that are we aligned with our strategy to be able to add some more DAU, some daily active users into our product, and on a daily, annual and monthly basis, where are their highs and lows, and seeing what changes we can make as well. So really what the growth design scaling system does is it gives you the ability to focus, because so many times I speak to founders or marketers, even product design leaders, and they're struggling on like, where do we focus and place our energy and attention? And this is now where the benefits of the growth design scaling system, especially on the acquisition piece, is I've been able to use the principles to be able to help improve the landing pages, for example, that I work on, to increase lead generation for the clients that I've worked on directly as well. And this is where I've seen it firsthand, and I'm also going to show you with more products that so many more people understand as well. If you look at a company like Dropbox, they were able to get more daily active users into their platform by sharing the ability or having a clear referral program into the way people signed up to their platform. You can see where Dropbox, the referral program, increased signups by 60%. They grew from 100,000 users to 4 million users in 15 months. They also had 35% of all daily signups. They came from referrals. Another platform that we know of is Slack. I use this on a daily basis. Achieved 10 million daily active monthly users in just 5 years. They also had a 30% month-on-month growth in early years due to their viral adoption, and their net dollar retention stayed above 130%, meaning existing users expanded usage, began to use more of the paid products inside of the Slack platform. Now, this is so valuable because what growth design does, it makes you think outside the box. You're not just looking at competitors, you're seeing, let me test with my customers, and then begin to give them more of what they actually desire and what they want. If you look at a platform like Duolingo, they increased their daily active retention, or daily active users, retention by 50+% as people began to learn languages in their platform. They became the #1 language learning platform with over 500 million downloads. Incredible. And the users who reach 7-day streak are 3 times more likely to stay long term. And this kind of streak mindset, you could see it in so many other platforms like this, like the Bible app uses the streak mindset. And there's other platforms that uses that kind of idea of streaks to get people gamifying the experience, for example, to get people into the platform a lot more. If you get a platform like Notion, grew from 1 million to 20 million users in 3 years. I use this on a daily basis. 75% of new signups came from referrals or content shared by users. And if you go on YouTube, they have, and even Twitter now, but mainly YouTube, they have a really active group of content creators who are creating content around Notion. If you go on Twitter, there's people selling Notion templates. They have an actual marketplace of templates, free and paid. So the way that Notion are getting paid is quite incredible, and it's great to see their growth. Is a really powerful platform, and they achieved 10 billion in valuation with 0 paid ads in the early years, which came simply just from the referrals. So this is the power of using referrals when you have a product that is really sticky and has the ability to get people to come back to the platform on a daily basis. You can see Zoom, another product I'm using on a regular basis, grew from 10 million to 300 million in daily meeting participants during COVID-19. Everyone remembers that period during as well. Reduced friction in signups, massive B2B and B2C adoption because they have a really strong enterprise offering and they have a really strong straight to consumer opt offering as well. From a marketing standpoint, that must be quite challenging, but they've really done quite well. And I do believe during the period a couple of years ago where many of us were locked down in our homes, that saw incredible growth for this platform as well. And 92% of Fortune 500 companies use Zoom. So it's basically become the industry standard at companies over a certain size. Now, Netflix is more commonly understood by most people. I do use Netflix as well. Results retained 90% of their paid users month on month. Personalized recommendations drive 80% of the total watch time, and they became the #1 streaming service globally with 230 million subscribers. Now, this market, by the way, is one of the most competitive markets, streaming video on demand kind of industry itself. But the fact that Netflix, because of the type of content they have, were able to get this really comes down to the power of what I call the growth design strategy. So you can see all of these strategies come together and get really strong results: referral loops, onboarding and habit formations, gamification and streaks, user-generated content, simplicity and viral adoption, AI-powered personalization. All of these are part of what we call the growth design strategy that has to make sense for the ability, technical feasibility of your team, the user experience capabilities, and the type of customers you're going after. You can achieve so much by having a good strategy that targets a core experience you want your users to have and understands the behavioral psychology of the people that you're working with to get them daily inside of the platform as well. So when you think about what you focus on, this is really taking the energy of your team and times in that by the clarity. So the more you want to maximize upon the energy of your team, you want to have a clear clarity on what they're doing. And this is why the growth design strategy is the growth design scaling system is a great way to do that. I'm sure you saw that quick glimpse of Trump there. I learned from just looking at Trump in his first 4 days in office recently. There's a lot that we can learn when you have a clear focus and a clear strategy. Now, love him or hate him, I'm not here to discuss politics. But the key thing I'm seeing is that in his first 4 days, he was able to achieve so much more than some other presidents did in the last 3 months or the last 6 months. So we're basically seeing that when you can focus on what you want to achieve, you have a clear mandate or strategy, then you are able to execute quite quickly on what people want, your customers actually want. So let's go forward. If you think about, if we take the same mindset of being able to deliver quite quickly, having clear focus, energy, and clarity, I want to talk about how this now scales across, how the growth design strategy, scaling strategy scales, and what quick wins and progress that we can think about as well. In the first 7 days, when I'm coming in and working with an organization, what are we thinking about? We want to audit and define our growth strategy for the business and make sure that for our SaaS, we're super clear on what we're doing and what we're going after. What quick wins can we get from the landing pages that are used for acquisition? How can we look at our onboarding flow and what updates or changes or just habit forming or feedback pieces can we add into our onboarding to get some quick wins? And can we run some small A/B tests in our first 7 days to be able to get some quick wins, improve conversion really quickly on things like landing pages or in our onboarding flow? First 7 days, we get our hands dirty, we get straight in. But over the next 30, this is what I call the growth action focus plan, just so you guys are super clear. The next thing you want to think about is really the next 30 days. So we're going to make sure that our audit is really clear, refine our value proposition. Like I said, we're launching our optimized landing pages and we're looking at the full funnel now across the month. We're simplifying our onboarding even more, spending more time on that, making sure we have clear metrics and analytics set up, launching a lead magnet that we can improve upon. So we know our lead magnet will really start to bring people on board, and we're continuously running user tests along the way as well. The next 60 days is about how we optimize and build retention systems. So where can we create triggers to start forming habits, incorporate progress tracking so people can see how they can get to the actual goal that they're going after. We're going to optimize onboarding data, launch a referral program, and test key conversion points to see where we can make improvements and continuously have that in a cycle of testing and experimentation to see where we can make improvements. Over the next 90 days, what we're doing here is launching more high converting funnels, continuously making improvements, doubling down on retention, building habit loops, making sure that we're expanding our lead generation. So we're seeing where more channels we can add in to get leads from. And then we're going to enhance our prioritization around what we audited to make sure that we can continuously add in new experiments or new things to go after to help increase retention and acquisition as well. And across the year, we're thinking about how we're going to scale, automate for predictable growth. So we're automating our acquisition and onboarding, making sure that, quote unquote, while we sleep, people are coming in and using the platform. We're going to expand our revenue streams. So how can we add more revenue streams once we have a clear funnel that is generating revenue? How can we focus on our net revenue retention to make sure that our revenue retention is looking good with decreasing churn? How do we refine and scale our funnels even more? And how do we measure and iterate on a quarterly, annual basis as we review the year and we see where we're at? Where do we make changes and how do we make adjustments going forward? All of this is a snapshot of the type of things that we're doing across that 7 days, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days into a 365 1 year period as an example, as this effort versus results graph explains with the growth action focus plan. You see, I began to see how this can work. I worked with this company for about 3 years or so, from their old site to the V1 that you saw there, where the first growth experiment I focused on was just a redesign of the website. And behind them, they had a powerful tech platform that they used to serve their legal clients. But initially it was like, okay, how do we make these changes going forward? That was in 2022, that was V1. Then in 2024, they had a rebrand and it was like, okay, we need to go after not just the full site, but how do we think of some key funnels that we can use to draw in clients for the business as well? So we focused on debt recovery. And I basically said, all right, this is the original copy from the page that I had first created, but how do we make this even better? Now we had more customers coming in and we know more about what they desire. So what we focused on was the tagline, the headline, the subtext, the image, and also the call out text. We said, okay, just in this section alone, the hypothesis was that just by optimizing this section, we will be able to increase conversion. Well, how do we optimize for conversion? First thing was making sure the tagline showed how many happy customers they had. The second thing was in the headline, how can we quantify how people will get to the result that they desire? Then how do we have benefit-driven bullet points that are quantifiable? In other words, we're using numbers to really make it plain how someone will actually get results. And the next thing that we're looking at as well is then we're going into the image, showcasing the transformation or the feeling of what it looks like after working with the team. And then the next thing was the call out testimonial, making it very directed to the result they've got for actual real customers. So what was the actual results of this experiment? From 1.5% conversion rate in the first version to 12.5% conversion in the optimized version. So using these growth design principles really helps to push conversion and really helps acquisition be a lot more cost effective, because the ad cost in the first one, it was like there was a hole in the bucket, because when people came to the first page, they were falling through. But in the second version, just by making that one sectional change in the heading, because the first thing people see on mobile and on desktop, that now fixes that hole in the bucket. We regain more revenue because we have more people now coming through the funnel. You see, overall, when we looked at all of these micro changes made across the whole website, went from a 5.75% conversion on the first version, and then in the redesigned version, 23% increase in leads, and a 5x increase overall, a 5-star review from the client that I worked with. So it shows that by leveraging these principles, you can make drastic improvements and really have happy people that you're working with as a result of making these changes. Because as a growth designer, what we're doing is focusing on two things: growth and design. We're making sure that on the growth side, we're metrics driven, running experiments, customer insights really drive our decision making. We have marketing alignment, so we know that we're having the clear messaging, and we think about scalability, so we're setting up the team for scale as well. So even as a growth designer, another thing I'm thinking about is like, what tools are you using? Are the tools slowing us down? Do we have the right people in the team? So it's not just the actual practicals of the execution of what you're doing, but how can the team benefit from thinking like this and thinking about how we are going to grow as well. From a design standpoint, we're user-centered. We got thinking about the interaction, the experience customers have. We want to have brand consistency, making sure that we're focused on problem solving so we can have a clear strategy, and we have high fidelity prototypes to test before we launch, and we quite launch very quickly and very often. So every week to 2 weeks, we're making sure we're making new launches to be able to test very quickly, to get the data, to be able to make assessments for the next sprint going forward. So all of this comes together to make sure that as a growth designer, I'm data informed, I have strong cross-functional collaboration, I can have rapid iteration on what I'm doing with a strong growth mindset and making sure the impact is clear and we have clear KPIs to record and actually analyze and record what were the results of what we did as well. So one of the great books that I have is this book over here called Hacking Growth by a gentleman by the name of Sean Ellis. He says, a core mandate for growth teams is to find every last bit of growth potential through a laser-like focus on continuous testing. And he also goes on here to say lots of tweaks to the product, its features, and what does he say here? Messaging to users, as well as the means by which they're acquired, retained, and generate revenue. Intrinsic to the method is also the search for new opportunities for product development, whether by assessing customer behavior or feedback, or perhaps experimenting with ways to capitalize on new technologies such as machine learning and artificial intelligence. Now, if you look at the day and age that we're living in right now, AI is all the craze, and where you can leverage AI in your growth design work and your experimentation is a really great tool to be able to allow us to move faster. But the key things he highlights are the continuous testing, search for new opportunities, and also this experimenting with new technology. And all of this comes together to allow you as a designer to be way more effective. Think of it like a machete versus a samurai. You know, a machete can still get the job done and get things cut, but the samurai gets it done faster and with more precision as well. And that's how I think about the growth designer, just like an everyday designer that's just working and executing on just designs. When you think about growth design, we're looking at business, we're looking at marketing, we're looking at strategy, we're looking at experimentation. We're bringing all of this together to create these experiments and focused on where can we have these quick wins to be able to get to a point where we're ready for growth and scale in the future. So why not try this today? Number one, you can keep struggling with your acquisition and retention and just stay doing what you're doing. The second thing is maybe you can try and figure out yourself, test and tweak and guess and really get into the weeds of it, but not really have a clear plan of action to get you there. But the growth scaling strategy is a great way to think about it. But the third thing you can do is really follow a proven system for your business. And that's where now you can really go forward and deep dive into the process using the growth design scaling system. This system is a really powerful tool that I showed you earlier on, is a really powerful tool that can help you know exactly what to do simply by following the key steps outlined here with the growth design scaling system. So my hope is that you'll be able to really see some strong value in this, and you'll be able to leverage it to be able to use it in your business going forward. And if you'd love to know more, just click on the link in the description and jump on a call with me, and I'll be happy to help you along the way as well. So my question of the day is, what's the number one thing that you're going to focus on when you look at this growth scaling system? Let me know in the comments below and just hit me up and we'll start a conversation if you've got any questions going forward. And if you just give me a like on this video and let me know that you've liked it and subscribe to this channel if you're new here, I want to thank you so much for spending the time for watching this video today. And also make sure that you take care of yourself and your families. Brilliant having you here. Hope to see you on the next one. Take care. See you soon.